The rain had been falling since morning, thin lines streaking down the tall glass windows of Lily Carter's house like silent tears. The house itself stood too large for one woman, modern, beautiful, and painfully quiet. Lily sat alone in the living room, wrapped in a gray cardigan, staring at the untouched cup of tea growing cold in her hands. Since Mark's death, silence had become her closest companion, heavy, suffocating, and impossible to escape. The rooms echoed with memories she no longer wanted to hear. His laughter in the hallway, his voice calling her name, footsteps that no longer came. That was why she finally decided she needed help. Not just to clean the house, but to break the loneliness that pressed against her chest every night. The doorbell rang softly, barely louder than the rain outside. Lily stood slowly, feeling that strange hesitation that always came before meeting someone new, and walked to the door. When she opened it, a young woman stood there, calm and composed, as if the storm behind her didn't exist. She was dressed neatly in black and white, her hair pulled back perfectly, her posture straight. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Carter," the woman said gently. "My name is Rose. I'm here about the maid position." Her voice was smooth, almost too steady, and her eyes were unusually still, dark, clear, and unblinking. Lily noticed immediately how pale her skin was, flawless in a way that didn't look natural, yet not unsettling enough to raise alarm. Just different. Inside, Rose moved with a quiet grace, her footsteps barely audible against the marble floor. Lily gave a brief tour of the house, pointing out rooms, schedules, expectations. Rose nodded at the right moments, asked no unnecessary questions, and absorbed every instruction like a machine learning its program. Something about her was comforting, yet distant, like a presence that existed without truly belonging. Lily felt oddly at ease around her, as if the silence of the house finally had shape and form. When Lily explained that the job would require staying some nights due to the size of the house, Rose simply replied, "I don't mind staying. I don't require much rest." Lily smiled politely, but the words lingered in her mind long after. By evening, Rose had already cleaned more than Lily expected, every surface shining, every corner flawless. Yet something strange began to surface in Lily's quiet observations. Rose never sighed, never stretched, never paused to rest. When Lily passed by mirrors, she noticed Rose always positioned herself away from them, choosing angles that avoided reflection. Once, Lily casually said, "There's a mirror in the hallway if you need to fix your hair," and Rose froze for half a second, just long enough for Lily to notice, before calmly responding, "I prefer not to." The answer was polite, but final, like a rule that could not be bent. That night, lying in bed, Lily listened to the soft sounds of the house and realized something unsettling. She could not remember hearing Rose leave her room, or even walk upstairs. And yet, every light was off. Every door locked. The house was perfectly still. Too still. Lily turned to her side, trying to shake the feeling crawling up her spine, telling herself she was just tired, still grieving, imagining things. But somewhere deep inside her, a quiet instinct whispered a warning she didn't yet understand. The maid who arrived that day did not belong to the rain, to the house, or to the world Lily knew. The next morning, Lily woke earlier than usual, the gray light of dawn slipping through the curtains. For a brief moment, she forgot Rose was even there. But when she walked into the kitchen, she stopped in her tracks. Breakfast was already prepared, neatly arranged toast, fruit cut into perfect slices, coffee still steaming as if it had just been poured. The clock read 5:12 a.m. Lily frowned slightly. She hadn't heard a single sound during the night. No footsteps. No doors. No movement. And yet, everything was done. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter," Rose said softly from behind her. Lily nearly jumped. Rose stood near the counter, hands folded calmly in front of her, eyes steady as ever. "You're up early," Lily said, forcing a smile. "I've been up," Rose replied simply. "Now I woke up. Now I couldn't sleep. I've been up." Lily took a sip of the coffee and realized it was still hot. Too hot for someone who supposedly made it long ago. A chill brushed her skin, though she said nothing. As days passed, Lily began noticing more details that didn't quite fit. Rose never ate. When Lily invited her to join her for meals, she always declined politely. "I do not require much nourishment," she would say, in that same calm, neutral tone. She cleaned constantly but never seemed tired. Her movements were precise, almost mechanical, yet graceful. Sometimes Lily caught her standing completely still in the hallway, not doing anything at all, just waiting. When Lily asked if everything was okay, Rose would turn slowly and reply, "Yes, Mrs. Carter. I was simply standing." The words were harmless, but the way she said them made Lily's stomach tighten. One afternoon, Lily decided to check the home security cameras. It wasn't suspicion at first, just curiosity. She scrolled through the footage from the previous night. The hallway camera showed Rose walking into the guest room around 10:43 p.m. Lily expected to see her leave sometime later. But the timeline rolled on and on and on. Rose never came out. Yet when Lily had gone downstairs that morning, Rose was already in the kitchen. Lily rewound the footage, watching carefully this time. Rose entered the room and that was it. No movement after. No door opening. No shadow shifting. Just stillness. A strange heaviness settled in Lily's chest. She checked another camera, the kitchen. There Rose was at 5:10 a.m., calmly preparing breakfast, as if she had simply appeared there. Lily leaned back in her chair, heart beating harder than it should. The rational part of her mind tried to explain it. Maybe the camera glitched, maybe the angle missed her leaving. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. Cameras fail. People don't vanish. That evening, Lily passed Rose in the hallway and studied her more carefully than before. Her skin looked the same as always, smooth, pale, perfect. Too perfect. Her eyes reflected light strangely, like glass rather than flesh. Lily suddenly noticed something else. Rose never cast a shadow when standing near certain lights. Not always. But sometimes, there was simply nothing beneath her feet. Lily swallowed and forced a smile. "Rose?" she asked casually, "do you ever look at yourself in the mirror?" Rose paused, just for a fraction of a second. "No," she said quietly, "I do not." And for the first time since Rose had arrived, Lily felt true fear. Lily barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Rose standing silently in the hallway, eyes unblinking, body unnaturally still. The house felt different now, not just quiet but watchful. As dawn crept through the windows, Lily made a decision. If Rose truly was hiding something, then Lily would uncover it herself. She would not confront her directly, not yet. Instead, she would observe, provoke, and gently push until the truth revealed itself. That morning, Lily placed a tall, decorative mirror against the wall in the living room, pretending she had recently bought it and wanted to change the room's layout. When Rose came downstairs, Lily watched her closely from the corner of her eye. Rose froze for a brief second at the sight of the mirror, then calmly shifted her gaze away, choosing to walk along the far wall instead of passing in front of it. Lily's heart raced. That was no coincidence. "Rose," Lily said casually, lifting a vase near the mirror, "could you help me place this here?" Rose stepped closer, then stopped. Her body stiffened, as if hitting an invisible barrier. For a moment, she simply stood there, eyes fixed on the floor, hands clenched slightly at her sides. "I will place it elsewhere," Rose replied quietly. Lily's throat tightened. "Why not here?" Rose lifted her eyes slowly. "Because it is not ideal. Not I don't like it. Not it looks better somewhere else. But it is not ideal." Lily nodded, pretending not to care, but inside her chest, panic thundered. Later that afternoon, Lily deliberately dropped a spoon near the hallway mirror. The sound echoed through the house. Rose appeared instantly as if summoned, gliding down the corridor. When she reached the mirror, Lily pretended to bend over to pick up the spoon but quickly straightened, positioning herself behind Rose so their reflections should meet. Lily held her breath. In the mirror, Lily saw herself clearly, but Rose's reflection was wrong. At first, Lily thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Rose's image flickered faintly, like a distorted shadow on water. Then it shifted. Her face blurred unnaturally, her eyes appearing hollow, dark voids where light should reflect. Her body in the mirror did not move exactly when Rose moved in real life. It lagged behind, twisted slightly, as if whatever stood beside Lily was not fully anchored in this world. Lily gasped quietly. Her hand flew to her mouth. Rose stopped moving. Slowly, impossibly slowly, she turned her head toward Lily, not using the mirror, but in real space. Her expression was still calm, but something cold now lived behind her eyes. "You were not meant to see that," Rose said softly. The spoon clattered from Lily's hand and hit the floor. And in that moment, Lily understood with terrifying clarity. Her maid was not human, and she had just discovered her. The house fell into a silence so deep it felt like the air itself had frozen. Lily stood motionless, her pulse pounding violently in her ears, while Rose remained perfectly still before her. The mirror no longer showed the distortion, only Lily's pale, shaken face staring back. Rose slowly bent down, picked up the fallen spoon, and placed it gently on the counter, as if nothing unusual had happened. The normalcy of the gesture made Lily's fear even worse. "You're not," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. Rose turned fully toward her now, folding her hands neatly in front of her, posture straight and calm. "I am not what you believe a maid should be," she said softly. "But I am here for the purpose I was assigned." Lily stepped back, her legs weak. "Assigned? By who?" Rose's eyes darkened slightly, not with anger, but with something colder, older. "By forces you would not understand. Not yet." A wave of dizziness washed over Lily as the words sank in. This was no hallucination, no misunderstanding. Whatever stood before her had never been human. And yet, it spoke gently, without threat, without emotion. That frightened her more than rage ever could. Rose walked slowly toward the window, the rain once again streaking across the glass. "Your husband did not die by chance," she said quietly. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Don't you dare speak about Mark," she snapped, fear turning sharp and desperate. Rose turned back slowly. "His death created a fracture. In this house. In the boundary between what lives and what lingers. I was sent because you began to cross that boundary without realizing it." Lily's heart pounded painfully. "That's not possible. I was grieving. That's all." Rose tilted her head slightly. "Grief is one of the strongest gateways there is." The room felt suddenly smaller, the walls pressing in. Lily backed toward the couch, barely keeping herself upright. "So what are you?" she asked. "A ghost? A demon? Some pretending to be human?" Rose's gaze softened, but not in a human way. "I am a watcher, a guide, a presence designed to remain unseen until the moment someone begins to drift too close to where they should not be." Lily stared at her in horror. "And I was drifting?" Rose nodded slowly. "You were speaking to things that were no longer there, feeling presences that were not meant to answer you. You called out into the dark, and something answered. I was sent to stop what followed." Lily collapsed onto the couch, her mind spiraling. All those nights whispering Mark's name into the empty house. All those moments when she felt she wasn't alone. The air felt heavier now, as if the house itself was listening. "And now that I know?" Lily asked quietly. "What happens now?" Rose looked at her for a long moment, expression unreadable. "Now," she said softly, "you must choose whether you wish to remain in the world you know, or step into the one that has already begun reaching for you." At that night, Lily lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling as shadows crawled slowly across it, shifting in ways light alone could not explain. The house no longer felt like a place made of walls and furniture. It felt alive. Every creak, every whisper of air through the vents sounded intentional, as though something unseen moved carefully just beyond her sight. Rose had returned to her quiet duties, moving through the home as if nothing had changed, as if Lily had not just learned that she was something other than human. That calm, that silence, was what terrified Lily most. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Lily heard footsteps outside her bedroom door. Slow, measured, not Rose's. Her breath caught as she sat up slowly, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure whatever stood outside could hear it. The footsteps stopped directly in front of her door. Then, nothing. No knock. No handle turning. Just presence. Lily reached for her phone, but before she could turn on the light, the footsteps faded away, dissolving into the walls like they had never existed. Trembling, Lily whispered, "Mark?" The name slipped from her lips before she could stop it. The room grew colder. The next morning, Lily found handprints on the inside of the hallway walls. Pale, almost translucent, as if pressed from the other side. She stared at them, frozen, while Rose quietly wiped them away without comment. "You see it now," Rose said calmly. "The boundary is thinning." Lily's voice shook. "Is that because of me?" "Yes," Rose replied gently. "Because grief calls louder than you know." The mirrors in the house began behaving strangely after that. Reflections would delay by half a second. Sometimes Lily would turn and still see herself facing forward in the glass. Other times, she saw shapes behind her that vanished when she spun around. At night, she could swear she heard breathing that was not her own, soft, close, patient. The house no longer felt empty. It felt crowded with things that did not belong to the living. Lily finally confronted Rose in the living room that evening. "You said you were sent to stop something," Lily said firmly. "So why does it feel like everything is getting worse?" Rose met her gaze calmly. "Because awareness opens doors before it closes them. You are now seen by what you once only felt." Lily's chest tightened. "So what happens if I can't stop it?" Rose stepped closer, her voice barely louder than a whisper. "Then the house will no longer belong to you. And neither will your reflection." Lily felt a cold chill rush through her veins. Because deep down she knew. The house was no longer just her home. It was becoming a doorway. Lily stood in front of the bathroom mirror long after midnight, the soft hum of the lights buzzing above her like a warning she couldn't silence. Her eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, her skin pale, her hands gripping the sink as though it were the only thing anchoring her to reality. Slowly, she lifted her gaze to meet her reflection, and froze. The woman staring back at her was not moving the same way she was. Lily blinked. The reflection did not. Her breath hitched as she raised one hand. A heartbeat passed before the reflection followed. Just enough delay to feel wrong. The face in the mirror looked like her, but the eyes were different. Darker. Deeper. As if something was looking out from behind them. Lily staggered back, nearly slipping on the tile floor. When she looked again, the mirror behaved normally, showing only her frightened face. But she knew what she had seen. The boundary Rose spoke of was no longer outside her, it was touching her. She stumbled into the hallway, heart racing, and found Rose standing at the end of the corridor as if she had been waiting. "It has begun," Rose said softly. "What has begun?" Lily whispered, "Your reflection separating from your body." Lily shook her head violently. "That's not possible. That's not real." Rose stepped closer, her presence cold and still. When the boundary weakens, the self becomes divided. One part clings to the living. The other is drawn to what lingers. Lily's voice trembled. "And if I don't stop it?" Rose's eyes softened slightly. "Then eventually, the reflection will no longer need you." A heavy silence fell between them. They sat in the living room moments later, Lily wrapped in a blanket, her mind spinning. "Why me?" Lily asked brokenly. "Why did this happen to me?" Rose folded her hands neatly. "Because you loved deeply, and you refused to let go." The word struck harder than any supernatural explanation. Lily's throat tightened as memories of Mark flooded her mind. His voice, his smile. The last night she whispered his name into the darkness hoping he would answer. Tears streamed down her face. "I just wanted him back," she whispered. Rose's voice was gentle but unyielding. "And something heard you." Rose then stood and walked toward the tall mirror in the living room. "You still have a choice," she said calmly. "But it will not remain open much longer." Lily looked up sharply. "What choice?" Rose turned slowly to face her. To seal the boundary and remain fully human, or allow the reflection to take your place, and become something else entirely. Lily stared at her, trembling. Because deep down, she already knew. The mirror was no longer just showing her image. It was waiting for her decision. Lily stopped sleeping altogether after that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt as though something was watching from behind them. The house creaked and whispered like it was breathing alongside her, and every reflective surface had become an enemy. Windows, glass tables, polished metal, even dark phone screens. She covered most of the mirrors with sheets, but still she felt them there, hidden and waiting. Yet the tall mirror in the living room remained uncovered, because something told her that hiding from it would only make it stronger. One evening, while Rose was in the kitchen, Lily stood alone before it. The room was dim, the only light coming from a single lamp beside the couch. Her reflection stared back at her, still and obedient. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Lily exhaled slowly, trying to calm her shaking hands. Then the reflection smiled. Lily did not. Her breath caught painfully in her chest as she stumbled backward, nearly falling. The smile on the mirror's face widened slowly, unnaturally, stretching across lips that were supposed to be hers. "You're tired," the reflection whispered. Lily clapped her hands over her ears. "This isn't real," she whispered desperately. "You're lonely," the reflection continued softly, its lips moving while Lily's remained frozen. "You miss him." At the sound of Mark's unspoken name, Lily screamed and turned away, collapsing onto the floor. The mirror fell silent again, showing only her pale, shaking body. But the damage was done. It had spoken. It knew her. It had reached past glass and light and touched her mind. Rose appeared in the doorway moments later, her eyes dark with understanding. "It has begun trying to persuade you," she said quietly. "Persuade me?" Lily whispered. "Yes. It wants you to let go willingly." Lily looked up at her in horror. "Let go of what?" Rose's voice was calm, but the weight of her words was crushing. "Your place among the living." Lily burst into tears, pressing her face into her hands. "I don't want this. I don't want to disappear." Rose knelt in front of her slowly. "Then you must stop listening to it, because once the reflection convinces you to step closer, it will not give you another chance." Lily lifted her head slowly, eyes burning with fear and defiance. "I won't let it take me," she said firmly. Rose studied her for a long moment. "Then you must be prepared to face what waits behind the mirror, before it comes through on its own." And in the quiet house, the mirror gleamed silently, not reflecting, but waiting. The house was unnaturally quiet that night, as if even the walls were holding their breath. Lily stood before the tall living room mirror, her reflection perfectly still, watching her with eyes that no longer felt like her own. The air around the glass shimmered faintly, rippling like heat rising from asphalt. Rose stood a few feet behind her, silent and motionless, her presence cold but steady. "This is the only way," Rose said softly. "You must see what waits behind it, before it takes you from this side." Lily's heart hammered violently in her chest as she lifted her trembling hand and placed it against the mirror. Instead of cold glass, her fingers sank into something smooth, thick and weightless, like slipping her hand into still water. Lily gasped sharply, panic rising, but Rose gently placed her hand over Lily's wrist, guiding it forward. "Do not pull away," Rose whispered. "It senses fear." With a shuddering breath, Lily stepped closer. The world twisted. The living room dissolved into darkness, and Lily felt herself falling, not down, but inward, through layers of shadow and cold light. When her feet finally touched solid ground, she found herself standing in a vast, colorless space, filled with countless floating mirrors stretching endlessly in every direction. Each one reflected a different version of her, crying, screaming, smiling, lifeless, empty-eyed. The sight stole the breath from her lungs. "This is the veil," Rose's voice echoed behind her. Lily turned and froze. Rose no longer looked human. Her skin glowed faintly silver, her eyes shining like distant stars, and dark, shifting patterns moved slowly beneath her surface like living shadows. She was no longer shaped by flesh alone, but by something ancient and immeasurable. "Ooh," Lily whispered. "You're not just a watcher, are you?" Rose inclined her head slightly. "No. I am a guardian of the threshold, a keeper of the passage between what lives and what lingers." Lily's legs trembled as she tried to process what she was seeing. So the house, the mirrors, all of it. Yes, Rose said calmly. Your grief weakened the boundary. This place feeds on unresolved longing, on love that refuses to release. Lily looked around at the endless reflections, her voice breaking. Then all these versions, these are people who didn't let go? Rose's eyes softened. These are echoes. Souls that stepped too far without returning. Lily's heart tightened painfully. And if I fail? Rose stepped closer, her form radiating quiet power. Then your reflection will walk in your place, and you will remain here, as another echo among the glass. The air trembled suddenly, and one mirror in the distance began to darken, pulsing like a living wound. Lily felt a pull in her chest, a familiar presence, whispering silently to her grief. And she knew, the real battle had not yet begun. The darkened mirror pulsed slowly, its surface rippling like a living wound in the endless sea of reflections. Lily felt herself being drawn toward it, every step heavier than the last, as if the air itself resisted her movement. Rose followed silently behind her, eyes alert, posture tense for the first time since Lily had known her. From within the mirror came a soft sound. Lily! Her breath caught painfully in her throat. She froze, tears instantly filling her eyes. That voice, gentle, familiar, aching with love, was Mark's. The sound she had whispered into darkness for so many nights, praying to hear again. Her legs weakened beneath her as she reached toward the mirror, trembling. Mark? She whispered brokenly. The surface shimmered and slowly his face began to appear. His smile, his eyes, his warmth, just as she remembered him. I've been waiting for you, the reflection said softly. You don't have to be alone anymore. Lily took another step forward, her heart shattering with longing. For a moment, she forgot everything Rose had told her. The warnings, the boundaries, the danger. All she could see was the man she loved, reaching for her through the glass. I miss you, Lily cried. I never wanted to let you go. Behind her, Rose spoke sharply. That is not your husband. The reflection's face darkened slightly. She's lying, it said calmly. She doesn't understand what we had, what we still have. Mark's voice softened. Come with me, Lily. No more pain, no more loneliness. Just us. Lily's hand hovered inches from the mirror's surface, shaking violently. Her heart screamed for her to move closer. But deep inside, something else screamed louder, warning her that love used as bait was the most dangerous trap of all. She turned her head slowly toward Rose, tears streaming down her face. How do I know which one of you is telling the truth? She whispered. Rose met her gaze steadily. Because what stands in that mirror feeds on what you cannot let go of, not on what truly loves you. The reflection's smile twisted slightly, its eyes darkening. You're afraid, it hissed softly. You'll always be alone without me. Lily inhaled sharply and stepped back. The mirror shook violently, cracking across its surface like a spiderweb. And in that moment, Lily understood. The reflection did not want her love. It wanted her to surrender. The moment Lily stepped back, the mirror pulsed violently, sending waves of cold air across the endless glass floor. The reflection inside shimmered, twisting unnaturally, the man she thought was Mark now distorting into something darker, something hungry. Lily stumbled, her breath coming in sharp gasps, her knees weak. She realized in that instant that this was no longer about longing, it was about her life. From the corner of her eye, Rose's form blurred with motion. She moved with unnatural speed, placing herself between Lily and the mirror. Do not let it reach you, Rose warned, her voice sharp and commanding. The reflection's surface began to ripple like water, reaching outward with elongated, shadowed arms, stretching impossibly far. Come to me, Lily, it hissed. You belong here. Lily shook her head violently. No, she screamed, falling to her hands and knees as the air around her thickened. The mirror's hands clawed toward her, and for a terrifying moment, she felt a cold pressure against her skin, like icy fingers brushing her soul. Rose's hands shot out, gripping Lily's shoulders. Focus. Hold on to who you are, she commanded, her voice cutting through the panic. Lily forced herself to stand, tears streaming down her face. "I'm not yours," she shouted at the mirror, finding the tiniest spark of courage in the terror clawing at her chest. She stared directly at the reflection and willed it to stop, concentrating on the warmth of her own heart, the memories of love and grief that were real, not trapped in glass. Slowly, impossibly slowly, the mirror recoiled, the shadowed arms withdrawing, the pulsing light dimming. The room fell silent. Lily's knees buckled, and she sank to the ground, gasping. Rose knelt beside her, calm once more. "This was only the first test," she said quietly, almost gently. "The reflection will return, stronger each time. You must learn to hold yourself together, or it will claim you completely." Lily pressed her palms to her face, trembling. "But I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Rose's gaze was unwavering. "You will, or you will not be yourself anymore. The choice is yours, Lily, and every choice counts." For the first time, Lily understood the full weight of Rose's words. This battle was not just for survival. It was for her very soul. The next day, Lily barely slept. Every reflective surface in the house seemed to whisper, teasing her with glimpses of what she feared most. Rose appeared early in the morning, as calm and composed as ever. "You cannot run from it," she said, her voice low and steady. "The reflection will always find the smallest crack in your resolve. You must learn to fight it, or it will consume you." Lily nodded weakly, wiping tears from her eyes. Rose guided her to the living room, where the tall mirror loomed ominously. "You will practice control," Rose instructed. "Focus on your own reflection, on who you truly are. When the reflection tries to deceive you, do not panic. Anchor yourself in your reality." Lily swallowed hard, fear tightening her chest, but she followed Rose's instructions. Slowly, trembling, she raised her hand to touch the mirrored at first. Nothing happened. Then the reflection flickered. The smiling, inviting face of Mark appeared again, whispering her name softly. Lily's hands shook violently, and her breath came in short gasps. "I am real," she whispered, clutching her chest. "I'm here. I am me." The mirror pulsed with a dark light, then shifted, showing her reflection twisted and hollow-eyed. Hours passed as Lily repeated the exercises. Each time the reflection tried to manipulate her with the voice of Mark, the promise of love, or the lure of grief, she resisted, clinging to herself, refusing to surrender. Exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, but with every confrontation, she felt a little more grounded, a little more herself. Lily nodded weakly, understanding the truth. The battle was far from over. The mirror had been patient for centuries. But now, she has patience too. The reflection grows impatient when you resist. It will attempt to weaken you by showing truths you cannot ignore. Lily watched, frozen, as the memory she had never known unfolded. Mark had been trying to stop something in the house she could never see. A dark presence loomed behind him, cold and insistent, pushing him toward the edge of despair. Lily's stomach turned. Her hands trembled. "No, this can't be real," she whispered, tears streaming. Rose stepped closer. "It is real. The reflection will use it to tempt you, to make you doubt yourself, to make you surrender." Lily's vision continued. She saw Mark turn, his eyes locking on hers through the mirror, even though he had died long ago. He was pleading silently, reaching for her as the dark presence closed in. The room's shadows shifted unnaturally, swallowing light. The reflection of Mark screamed, twisted, and Lily felt herself pulled toward the mirror, heart hammering, mind reeling. "You cannot give in," Rose warned, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. "Do not let grief guide you. You must claim your reality, not the illusion." Lily's tears blurred her vision. Her heart ached, but she focused. "I am here. I am real. This is not my choice," she shouted, forcing herself to step back from the mirror. The scene wavered violently, the reflection twisting into darkness. Lily felt the pull weaken as she shouted her own name, anchoring herself in the world she belonged to. The room fell silent. The mirror now reflected only Lily, exhausted but alive. Rose spoke softly, her eyes dark but approving. "You survived your first true attack. You faced the reflection's lies, and you anchored yourself in truth. But it will not stop. You must continue to grow stronger. It will try again, and next time, it may not show mercy." Lily nodded, shivering but determined. The mirror was no longer just glass. It was a battlefield, and she was learning to fight. The next day, Lily followed Rose through the house, noticing for the first time that the walls seemed to hum faintly under their touch. "Why me?" Lily asked quietly, her voice still shaky from the previous night. "Why was I chosen for this?" "For whatever you are showing me." Rose stopped in front of the fireplace and turned slowly, her eyes catching the faint light like distant stars. "Because your grief is unusually strong. It called to something beyond the world of the living," she explained softly. "The mirror was never meant to exist here, in this house. It was brought here long before you moved in, placed to guard a boundary that some humans are not meant to cross. But grief, persistent, unyielding grief, weakens that boundary." Lily's forehead creased. "So you were watching me?" Rose inclined her head slightly. "I had been assigned to guide, to protect, and to correct. To prevent the reflection from claiming what is not its own. You were drifting, Lily. Every time you whispered his name, every time you lingered in memory, the reflection grew stronger. You didn't see it, but I did. And now it has begun to test you openly." Lily's heart sank as pieces fell into place. The disappearing footsteps, the impossibly precise cleaning, the way Rose never reflected in mirrors, all of it had been preparation. "So everything you did, it was to train me?" she asked. "Yes," Rose replied calmly. "You needed to recognize yourself before you could resist it. But training alone is not enough. You must understand what the reflection wants, and what it is capable of." She gestured toward the living room mirror, its surface calm and deceptive. "It is not merely an image. It is a predator of grief and longing, and it grows stronger with every ounce of desire you give it." Lily swallowed hard, fear clawing at her throat. "And if I fail?" Rose's expression softened, but there was no trace of hesitation. "Then it will take the place you were meant to occupy, and you will become just another echo among the glass." Lily's eyes widened. "And Mark?" Rose shook her head slowly. "The reflection will never bring him back. It can imitate, manipulate, and tempt, but it cannot restore what was lost. Only you can decide whether you remain alive in your reality or drift into its illusions." The weight of Rose's words pressed down on her. Lily felt the house closing in, the mirrors watching, waiting. For the first time, she realized this was not just about fighting grief, it was about claiming her life before it was stolen completely. That night, the house was unnaturally silent, even for its usual oppressive stillness. Lily stood before the tall living room mirror, her hands trembling as she tried to steady her breathing. Rose hovered behind her, calm but alert, every muscle coiled like a predator ready to intervene. "It will come," Rose warned softly. "It always does when it senses weakness. Be ready." At first, nothing happened. Then, the glass shimmered violently, and Lily froze. The reflection twisted into a distorted version of herself, hollow-eyed, pale, smiling in a way that made her stomach churn. From the mirror, a voice hissed softly, echoing in the room. "You belong here, Lily. You've already lost him. Let go. Come with me." Lily's heart raced. "No," she shouted, taking a step back. Her own voice sounded small against the power emanating from the mirror. The reflection's hands reached out, stretching impossibly, moving through the glass as if it were water. Cold fingers brushed against Lily's cheek, and for a moment, she felt herself pulled forward, unable to resist. Rose moved with terrifying speed, grabbing Lily's shoulders and anchoring her in place. "Focus. This is not Mark. It is the reflection trying to deceive you." Her voice cut through the terror like a blade, and Lily forced her gaze to her own eyes in the mirror. "I am Lily. I am alive," she shouted. The reflection recoiled, screeching in anger. Then, it shifted again, forming a horrifying vision of Mark's death. The scene Lily had witnessed before, but now closer, more vivid, more real. His face contorted in terror as the shadows swallowed him. Lily felt bile rise in her throat, fear threatening to paralyze her completely. Rose's grip was steady. Do not let it claim you. Hold your grief, but do not let it control you. Claim your reality, Lily. Summoning every ounce of courage, Lily pressed her palms together and forced herself to confront the reflection fully. You are not real. I'm here. This is my life. I am not yours. The words hit the air with authority, echoing through the endless mirrors surrounding them. The room shuddered, the glass rippling violently before finally settling into a still, silent state. Lily fell to her knees, exhausted, trembling, but alive. She dared to glance up at the mirror. Her own face stared back, unbroken whole. Rose knelt beside her, voice calm. That was your second trial. Each time you resist, you grow stronger. But remember, it will not stop. It will return, more clever, more patient, more relentless. Lily's chest heaved, her body shaking with fear and relief. She had survived, but she knew the reflection was learning. And it would not rest until she gave in completely. The house was colder than it had ever been that night. Every mirror seemed to shimmer with a dark hunger, as if the glass itself was alive, watching, waiting. Lily stood before the tall living room mirror, knees trembling, sweat cold on her forehead. Rose stood a few feet behind her, silent but ready, her eyes reflecting centuries of unseen knowledge. It knows your weakness, Rose warned softly. Prepare yourself. This will be its strongest attempt yet. Lily's heart ached at the sight. Her fingers trembled, reaching toward the glass. Every instinct screamed to step forward, to embrace the illusion of the man she loved. For a moment, she thought she might. The reflection's eyes glimmered with promise, coaxing, seductive. It was perfect. It was everything she had lost. Rose stepped forward, placing a firm hand on Lily's shoulder. This is the last test, she said. Do not be deceived. That is not Mark. That is the reflection, feeding on your longing. Anchor yourself. Claim your life, not the shadow. Lily swallowed hard, forcing herself to look past the reflection, past the warmth and promise, and see the truth. The reflection's perfect image flickered, revealing the dark void beneath, the hollow eyes, the twisting shadow that had been waiting all along. She felt the pull again, stronger than ever, cold and insistent. But I am Lily Carter, she shouted, stepping back from the mirror. I am alive. I am real. I am not yours. The reflection shrieked, the glass rippling violently, waves of cold energy knocking Lily to the floor. Rose grabbed her hand, steadying her. Hold on. Hold your ground. With trembling effort, Lily forced herself upright, staring directly into the mirror. She imagined herself whole, alive, breathing, and unbroken. She anchored herself in the love she still carried for Mark, but the love of reality, not the illusion. She willed the reflection to see her as unyielding, untouchable human. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the mirror pulsed and the reflection dissolved, leaving only her own image staring back. Lily collapsed to her knees, sobbing with exhaustion, relief, and triumph. She had survived. She had resisted. She was still herself. Rose knelt beside her, voice gentle now. You did it, Lily. You have claimed your life. The reflection is no longer able to reach you, for now. But remember, boundaries are fragile. Grief can call again. Always remain vigilant. Lily looked at the mirror, now just glass, calm and still. The house was quiet once more. She was alive. She was human. She was free. And for the first time since Mark's death, she allowed herself to breathe. The first light of dawn filtered through the windows, soft and golden, painting the house in warmth it hadn't known since Mark's death. Lily sat on the couch, exhausted but whole, feeling the solid reality of her body, her heartbeat, her breath. The mirrors that had once been gateways to terror now reflected only her surroundings, calm and ordinary. The house no longer seemed alive in a menacing way. It felt quiet, protective, and at peace. Rose stood nearby, her usual stillness present but softer somehow, more human. You have done well, Lily, she said, voice gentle. You faced the reflection, the temptation, and the truth of your grief. You claimed your life back. Lily looked at her, tears still wet on her cheeks. All this, you guided me, but why? Why me? Rose's eyes reflected a faint glow as she answered. Because every person who is lost to grief can create a breach. My purpose is to guard those boundaries, to intervene when someone teeters too close to the edge. You were chosen not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to fight and reclaim yourself. She paused, studying Lily. And now your strength can anchor this place. You have healed the fracture, and the house no longer calls to the lingering shadows. Lily felt the weight of those words settle in her chest. For the first time in months, the house felt like a home again. Warm, familiar, safe. She walked slowly through the rooms, noticing the sunlight bouncing off the floors, the gentle hum of life returning. Everything was ordinary, yet extraordinary in its simple reality. The mirrors reflected her perfectly, unchanged and true. No whispers, no shadows, no hungry reflections, just her. Rose followed her silently, then spoke one last time. I will remain nearby. The boundary never disappears completely, but you have learned to defend it. You have learned to value your life over the illusions that grief conjures. That is all I was sent to teach. Lily nodded, a quiet smile forming. Thank you for everything. Rose inclined her head slightly and turned toward the door. Remember, Lily Carter, grief may call again, but you now have the power to resist. Always. As Rose's figure disappeared into the morning light, Lily looked around her house, taking a deep, steadying breath. The air was warm. The rooms were alive with comfort, not fear. She realized she could finally move forward, not haunted by what she had lost, but empowered by what she had survived. And for the first time since Mark's death, Lily Carter felt truly at peace. She had reclaimed her life, conquered the reflection, and stepped fully into the world of the living once more. The mirrors were just mirrors. The house was just a home. And she was herself again.